step beyond with an immersive experience unlike anything else. Introducing DJI FPV.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the new DJI FPV drone and why you should be excited about it, because I am buzzing for this drone. Oh my god! Okay, so yesterday, the 2nd of March, DJI announced the new FPV drone to add to their collection of drones. Now this, to my knowledge, in fact no it is the first fully all-in-one package FPV drone. And this absolutely changes the game of FPV drones for everyone, probably forever. And I'm not trying to be dramatic by saying that. I genuinely mean this drone changes everything. Now the reason it changes everything is this drone has now bridged the gap between everyday users that want to learn FPV but don't really know where to start, and professional filmmakers that are incorporating FPV into their workflow. Up until this point, there have been 3 main factors preventing you from getting into FPV. The biggest one is the price point of entry. It is expensive to get into FPV drones. It's more expensive than normal drones. You have to buy multiple batteries, you have to buy and set up the drone, you have to buy a separate camera, you have to buy goggles, you have to buy a controller. You have to then maintain that drone because things will break and you're building it yourself. And also, until about a year ago, and I mean you can still do it now, but you had to learn how to solder yourself and pay for everything to solder and to literally build an FPV drone yourself. Second issue was the learning curve. If you didn't already have to know how to solder, you then had to learn how to solder and how to build these drones, which is going to take you, you're not going to get that first try, so that goes back into the price point. You're going to be paying for more and more parts so you can keep practicing, keep getting better. Also, you've got the learning curve of learning to fly an FPV drone. They are not easy to fly. Trust me, if you haven't seen my previous vlogs on it, go check them out. They're not easy to fly FPV drones. And so there's an entire learning curve there that you have to do to be able to even enter this area, even enter this field. Price point, learning how to solder, and the learning curve of FPV itself are the 3 barriers of entry to learning FPV. And DJI have just been like, yeah, we're just going to fix all that and more now. So what they've done with this drone is, starting off with the biggest one, the price point. It's 12, in fact, let me double check this for you lovely people. So in the DJI FPV combo, you get, hang on, the fully built FPV drone. You haven't got to build it, you've just got to put the propellers on when it gets to you. 1 battery, propellers, gimbal protector, top shell, the remote controller, spare controller sticks, the FPV goggles, the antennas for the goggles, goggle batteries, all the cables, headbands, charging, everything like that, for £1,249. That's mind-blowing. Also, we're going to talk about it more in a minute, but the battery life for that 1 battery, I actually can't believe they've done this. I can't believe you have done this.
I can't believe you've done this.
So let's just let's just talk about the drone itself that they are releasing here. So they're releasing a 4K 60 frames per second super wide 150 field of view drone with a 10km HD low latency video transmission. That's just that. First of all, we know DJI. If you already know drones, you know DJI. They release good drones with good cameras. Right? They dominate the market, and I don't think I can name another drone manufacturer. Just DJI are just. It's DJI. It's DJI. Like, they run the show. They run it at the moment. And they're not like they're using that as some monopoly to release these mega expensive drones to control the market or anything. They're bringing us fantastic drones at a really good price point for what you get out of them. So, big up. I love DJI. Big up DJI. So there's a few main points here why I'm so excited by this drone. Biggest one is you ain't got to build it. I've already said this, but there's just, I can't go over it. You haven't got to build anything. It's pre-built. It just works. You haven't got to buy a second camera. There's already a camera mounted into it. And that camera is both your recording camera and your visual field of view camera. A typical FPV drone, you will have 2 cameras. You'll have a little low latency camera on the drone itself, which is what you see. and then you have your additional camera. Most people go for GoPros or the DJI Osmos or some sort of action cam you mount onto the top. And the issue with that can be that if you're not mounting it properly, it's going to have a different angle to what you're seeing. So you think you're getting these amazing shots, and you're actually getting a slightly different shot, which I imagine can be quite annoying. I haven't got to that point in my FPV career that I'm using these drones yet, but this is just from my just knowing about FPV drones. It's just kind of, you can kind of figure that out, that that's gonna be an issue. Next thing is that battery. This is what I think I'm most excited about. The battery. That battery gives you, I think it was like 20 minutes of flight time.
2,000 years later.
I don't even know. After all that scrolling, it doesn't even tell me in here how long the flight time is. I'm pretty sure it's about 20 to 30 minutes. I think it's like more towards the 20 end of that scale. But you get let's just go for 20. You get about 20 minutes of flight time. Normal FPV drones, you get 3 minutes, maybe. So you have to carry around like you'd have to carry around what, like, oh, quick maths, oh no. You have to carry around like 7 or 8 batteries for the flight time this one battery can give you. Like, that's mad. That's mad. And also, you haven't got to carry around some freaking massive charging station for these batteries, because it comes with a nice little compact DJI charger. Now, I think the things I keep saying I'm most excited for. Literally, as we're going through this list, I'm more excited about every single thing. It has a pause feature. Okay, so FPV drones, if you're not fully familiar with them, you are in control of absolutely everything. From the moment that lifts off the ground, you are in complete control. If you panic, if you freak out, if you just lose control, you're kind of screwed. It's going to crash because you are in 100% control 100% of the time until it's back on the ground. And that's actually a problem with learning FPV drones, is that it's so hard. There's no room for error. You can't make a mistake because you're going to crash it. And like, there's the simulators, which we'll talk about in a minute, but the sims aren't the same, and you need that actual airtime to learn it. And oh god, it's just, you're gonna crash. And so the pause mode is game changing. If you break, if you panic, if you freak out, if you don't know where you are, you hit a button, and just like the normal DJI drones, like the Mavic, you just pause. It just floats. It just takes control, and you can recompose yourself, figure out where you are, and fly home. Game changing, honestly game changing. Because as I say, I'm not that far into my FPV career yet, but even with my little FPV drone that I've been learning on, it's so easy to completely lose your orientation. So this is mad. It's actually mad. Next feature, if you panic, if you freak out, you've hit the pause button, you don't know where you are. In fact, you're like, oh, you know what? I feel a bit sick from wearing these goggles. You hit another button and it flies it back to you. Just like these drones, just like the Mavic, the ones we're used to. It will fly the drone back to you. And it's an FPV drone. Like, I can't explain how insane that is for an FPV drone. Like, for these drones, you expect it now. But FPV drones are a whole new beast. And up until this point, as I say, you are in 100% control. Whereas this is like the love child of FPV drones and a Mavic. And it's just, I'm excited. Okay, again, probably my favourite thing, but also not my favourite thing, because everything's my favourite thing that I'm most excited for. It has training modes. I'm saying it, this is the perfect drone to learn FPV, to be an intermediate FPV, and probably be advanced in FPV. Because it has 3 modes now. I don't know the exact terminology, but it's 3 modes. It has a beginner mode, is what we're going to go for, which is basically a normal drone with a bit more control. Everything's like, it's the baby steps mode. It's the practicing, getting the grips of it. You've got some control, like, past what you have with these ones, because obviously these drones, you go up and down, you go side to side. I think there's a little bit more agileness. Agility is the word I wanted there, within the drones, but nowhere near as much. Whereas this now gives you that chance to get a bit used to having that bit more control. practice around with it and get your grips with it. You can then shove it into what I'm going to call intermediate mode, which is like a sport mode, where it's the same sort of thing, except you've got a bit more, you've got a bit more speed, you've got a bit more agility in there to play around with, get a bit more used to it. And then you've got full throttle FPV mode, which is when you are in 100% control, you are controlling absolutely everything at all times until you hit the pause button. And just, you can do whatever you want. It is the, it said in the when did that turn off? I don't even know when that turned off, but you know, where was I? Yeah, you've got, as it said in the introductory trailer from DJI, the only limits are your skill and your creativity. You can do whatever you want when it's in full-fledged FPV mode. The fact that you, normally FPV drones, you jump in and you are just thrown straight into full-fledged FPV mode. You have no choice but to just deal with it and learn it. This gives you those training wheels and then baby steps, and this is the thing I'm most excited for, because this opens FPV up to everyone. This gives everyone the chance to learn it now without breaking drones repeatedly or being chucked into the deep end, having to spend thousands on FPV drones and setups to then smash it up within the first hour. This completely bridges the gap between filmmakers and hobbyists, people that want to get into it. This is just, I can't explain how exciting this is. And the last thing I'm going to mention is the simulators. They are now releasing an FPV simulator along with this for you to train in, which is just amazing. All the simulators I have used so far, they're crap, to be completely honest. They're really laggy. I don't know if I'm just using the wrong ones. If you know of better ones, let me know in the comments, but all the ones I've used are crap. They're so laggy. They're just not very responsive, and it doesn't feel like I'm actually learning. It feels like I'm fighting the simulator. Whereas they are now giving you one which runs straight through the goggles, because normally you have to do it on a computer. Yeah, I'm speechless. I am so excited for this drone. I haven't been this excited for a drone since the Mavic Air came out. This is, I bought this. I think I bought this the week it came out, because I was looking at getting my first drone. I was looking at getting a Mavic Pro, and then they released the Air, and at that point in time, there was the Mavic Pros, which were bigger, bit more chunky. They were obviously spec'd out better, but they were just a bit too big and bulky, and I wanted it to travel. But then the Spark was out, and the Spark wasn't it for my purposes. It wasn't quite that level for photographers and videographers. So I was going to have to go for the Mavic. And then they released this bad boy, which bridged that gap. It filled the gap in the market for those people like me that are like wanting to get into their first drone. They're kind of hobbyists, but they do photography, they do a bit of videography, but they're not quite at that level where they're going to spend thousands of pounds on the top of the range gear. They've bridged that gap. And that's why I'm now so excited about this FPV drone, is they're bridging the gap in that market. It is either you get the cheap little rubbish little FPV drones that aren't going to be that, they're going to be fun to fly, but they're not it for photographers. Well, FPV isn't really for photography, but they're not it for videographers. Or you spend thousands, you jump in at the deep end, and you've got to just learn. You've got to have the capital behind you to deal with crashes and buy replacement parts and all of this, and just deal with the consequences of learning FPV. Whereas this completely bridges that gap. I'm so excited. I'm genuinely so excited, and I want it. I genuinely want it. This is a game changer. This is a complete game changer for FPV. And I don't think people quite realise that just yet. I am so hyped. I am so hyped for this drone. But yeah, that's it for me. I am just so hyped for this drone, and I just wanted to express that to you guys and explain why you guys should be as well. If you're interested in FPV, if you're interested in this drone, drop any comments down below. Let's start a conversation. Let's talk about this drone and how insane it looks. If you don't mind, like the video down below. It massively helps me out, pushes it out to the algorithm and all that stuff. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, if it's the first time you've seen me, or if you keep finding yourself coming back to this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, do me a favour, subscribe down below. All the other stuff that YouTubers tell you to do. I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to take the shot. Peace. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the new DJI FPV. DJI FPV. The new DJI FPV. Okay, so yesterday, the 2nd of March, DJI